guitar.
Hi, I'm Teja Gerken with Peghead Nation, and I'm here at the Taylor factory in El Cajon, California with Andy Powers. And Andy's going to tell us about this latest Builder's Edition guitar that is coming out.
Yeah, the woodworking project.
The woodworking project. All of them are woodworking projects,
they
right?
they are, but some more than others.
Well, it's a very good sounding woodworking project because where you just played sounded really awesome on that.
Thank you.
So this is the 814 Builder's Edition,
Yeah,
is that
it's an
correct?
814 Builder's Edition.
Okay.
So when we had started what became the Builder's Edition guitars,
Right.
it was, the concept was, well, I know and love the guitars that are in our portfolio.
And it was the launch of the V-Class, really.
It was a vehicle that launched the V-Class idea. It was like the poster child for that. And so I was taking an instrument going, okay, well, if I took the DNA of a Taylor shape and then took it to what I would see as the next level of woodworking or guitar making, what does that turn into? Well, it starts to borrow some of like the electric guitar design language, where you have this contoured, beveled cutaway and this armrest and all these things. And so I look at that and go, well, wow, now I can get all the way to the end and you know, I can still get my thumb around the neck.
So we can kind of think of these as sort of hot-rodded Taylor designs, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so we started with the what we call a K14, a Koa series, 14 grand auditorium shape. Now, this one is sort of the next evolution of an 814, which is our iconic flat top.
Yeah, and you've already done the
model.
814 Deluxe.
Yeah.
So that
and so there's been different iterations as
and
we
of
can,
course going all the. I mean, I remember that when that guitar first came out, essentially as the 20th anniversary guitar, way back when.
Right,
what was it, 1994.
that was a good while ago.
So
a couple decades ago now.
So we've had standard 814s, we've had X-braced 814s, we now have V-Class 814s, we've had different versions with the relief routes. There's all kinds of different 814s.
The deluxe one with the armrest,
the deluxe one with the armrest
and all that. This is the next evolution of that series. Go, what more can we do?
Right.
Because I always liked pushing something forward and going, okay, well, that was a great guitar. Can I make it a better guitar?
Right.
Right? And so this one has been something that we've been working on for a while, taking the kind of the cosmetic, like the aesthetic of an 814, but turning it into something that features kind of the most complex woodworking that we've ever done, the most complex finishing, like everything is going all the way there.
Right. And what I love about it, we were talking about it earlier, some of it is obvious. You have the beautiful bevel, you obviously have gorgeous materials, but some of the woodworking you're talking about, you really wouldn't know if you just looked at the guitar.
Right. For example, the top of this guitar is actually a 4-piece Adirondack spruce.
Right, which is fascinating.
And so I wanted to use Adirondack spruce because in this case, the earliest editions of the V-Class design, it was so unique in the way that it was working, we kept it to just the Sitka spruce that we were most familiar with and slowly started incorporating and experimenting with other materials. Well, in this case, we're going to introduce this Adirondack top, but the reality is that the Adirondack trees that are available, they're not 6-foot diameter trees. These are not giant trees the way that they might have been 150 years ago.
Well, and they're really
smaller.
just coming back. We didn't really use cut Adirondack from when they stopped using it in the 30s to maybe the mid-90s when the trees had finally gotten barely big enough to make a guitar without them.
Right, and so traditionally you build a 2-piece guitar top because it's the biggest bang for the least amount of effort. Right,
you book match it. It matches. Nice.
And then you have a symmetrical top along the center line. That's a nice, predictable top to work with for a builder. But you don't have to make many saw cuts, and you only have to make one joint in the middle. If you're going to make 4 pieces, well, you have 3 times as many joints to make, and they all have to be perfect in order to be acoustically transparent. You got to run your saw blade through this block of wood 3 times as many times. It becomes a huge amount of work.
So you have the mechanics of actually doing it, but you also have to learn how to choose the sections of the wood to actually use.
So what I'm wanting to do is, if in a world where I have to contend with smaller trees, that's reality, right? That's the inevitable future. Is you can use trees, but they're not 6-foot diameter trees that took 500 years to grow. They're smaller trees.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, I still want a great guitar. I still want a great guitar top.
Right.
That means that I'm going to do more woodworking. I'll put the effort into getting something that is well courtesan, well oriented, and I'm going to fabricate that piece so that I can control the grain angle, control all the technical details of this block of wood to yield a top that sounds and looks great.
Right. So it's like engineering a superior top, really. Yeah.
Right. That's what it turns down to.
Awesome.
It's putting extra woodworking effort into it in order to get a tonal and visible result that you're looking for.
And looking at it, you can't tell. There's no way you could tell that this is a 4-piece top. Well, I'm saying no way. You might be able to see where it is.
I can see it. It's hard.
Yeah, it would be really hard. So it's an Adirondack top. We have East Indian rosewood back and sides that we're familiar with 814.
Yeah, it's the classic spruce rosewood combo.
Slightly different appointments, it looks like.
Yeah, just ever so slightly. I mean,
Yeah.
typically an 814 has been known as having light color binding.
Yeah.
At different times that's been plastic, it's
Yeah.
been maple.
Right.
And I love that look. In this case, with the Builder's Edition guitar, it's actually more like a violin,
Yeah.
where you have this inlaid purfling edge.
Yeah.
So I kept some of the details, some of the visual appointments, but changed them just a little to fit the Builder's Edition style of construction.
Nice. And you made the bevel the same. Is the bevel actually Indian rosewood as well, or is it?
No, actually, well, even that's a bit of a complex
I'm just saying,
story.
like on some of the bevels you use is like a
Sometimes
visually
you'll put
offset wood, but
you'll put a visually offset wood. In this case, I wanted to keep the color
Yeah.
a little more
It's
uniform.
very
Same with the
attractive,
beveled cutaway and all that. So it turns out to be a gorgeous guitar, a little bit of
nice.
an edge burst.
Yeah.
It's in my opinion some of the most difficult woodworking we've done here at Taylor Guitars.
Yeah.
But for me, this is the cutting edge of our guitar making ability.
Awesome. Great. Well, it's really exciting to see another iteration of the 814. Like I said, I've been watching this guitar sort of from its birth, before it was an
Right.
814 to this, and it's very fun to see.